let's begin 2.2 and 2.3. I mean 2.3 and 2.4, which is very similar to what we have in 2.1 and 2.2. It's just that now we're using the same information. If you remember on Thursday of last week, I told you guys that we only have the three main definition that we need to remember, which is the complement, the union, and the intersection, right? The prime, the upside down U, and the right side U. So let's take a look at the next step that we have is if we were to give you this item, and they ask you to construct the Venn diagram, how do we construct the Venn diagram? So if you glance through this thing here, you can see that this, how many sets do we have? Well, we have two sets. We have set A and we have set B. So if we have two sets, most of the time, your two sets will look like this. And your Alex, yes, your Alex will give you a little bit different example, and I will mention that relate to this example here. Most of the time, our two sets like this, we have some overlapping, and there are some item in A that is not in B, and there are some item in B that is not in A, and there are some item that is not in neither A, none, or in B, right? So when you construct the Venn diagram, the first thing you want to do, or the most important thing you want to do, is you want to construct where the overlap region is at. Basically, you ask yourself, is there any number inside A and also inside B? So if you glance through this thing here, which is there, do A and B, do they share any item, which is, do you see that they share number 1, they share number 4, right? And they share number 7, which is, in this case, everybody see that this thing here, number 1 is in A and also in B, which is, again, that item A and B, which is we put here. And number 4 is in A and also in B, which is, again, because it's in A and in B, we put it here. And similarly, number 7 is in A and in B. So this item, do you agree that 1, 4, and 7 is the item that share inside A and also in B? And for this particular problem, there is nothing in A, which is there's nothing left, right? We took the 1, we took the 4, and the 7, there's nothing in A. Now, what is left in B? Well, the 3 and the 6, which is, we can take the 3 and the 6 and put in here because those are the items inside B, but not in A. And lastly, we look at this thing here and we say, well, I got the 1, I got the 3, I got the 4, I got the 6, I got the 7, which is, now you ask yourself, from the universal set, from your universal set, what item is left after you use that item, which is, do you agree that the 2 and the 5 have not working out? Which is, the 2 and 5 is the two items that is outside of A, none
yeah. I bet you I will.
Question?
Before I waste my time thinking about something that I never had before.
So looking at this thing here, looking at this item here, do you agree that this is our Venn diagram, which is, there are something that A and B share, which is, in this case, A, everything in A is in B. And there are something in B that is not in A. So one thing on Alex, if you saw this problem in Alex, this is not the right Venn diagram that you're supposed to have, because there is nothing in A that is not in B, which is, given this thing here, ladies and gentlemen, this is a proper subset, meaning you cannot give them this item here. You cannot give them this Venn diagram, because this Venn diagram, we don't have anything in A, which is basically we have to, or you have to adjust the Venn diagram to be this, because this item here, everything in A is in B. So A is a proper subset of B, meaning, again, B contains whatever A offer. So when you do your Alex, or when you work on Alex, make sure, for me, I like to work with this Venn diagram here first. If this Venn diagram, if either A is missing, then it will be this. If B is missing something and A have, then the B will be inside and A will be outside, right? So again, if the only time you have a proper subset is the first item is smaller than the second item, and the second item contain whatever the first item offer. So most of the time it will be this Venn diagram. Is just some occasionally you will see that there's nothing in A. So if there's nothing in A, you have to choose this figurine. Okay, the only reason why we choose this figurine or this Venn diagram is because it's a proper subset. A is a proper subset of B. Okay, everybody see the difference between the two sets or the two Venn diagram here. And again, the idea of constructive Venn diagram, the idea of constructive Venn diagram is you always want to, your goal is you always want to construct what in the center, what they have in common. So same idea, same concept. Let's take a look at this item and continue with what we have before, which is, again, they ask you to find A prime union B, right? What is outside of A or in B? So one way, on last Thursday, we did it by hand. We basically list out what we have, and you either put them together or we say what they have in common. But let's take a look at how can the Venn diagram help us to answer this question here. Basically, they tell you to list the element in a roster method based on this set operation. So before we do A, B, and C, let's take a look at how can we construct the Venn diagram. And like before, I have my set A, I have my set B. Most of the time, you want to start with this Venn diagram, which is the overlapping. Okay, unless you look at it and you say, oh, everything in B is in A or everything in A is in B, and then you can choose the other one. But again, most of the time it's this item here. And whenever you construct, this will always be the same. Whenever you construct, make sure to try to construct the center part, the overlapping. And if you look at this thing here, the overlapping is basically ask yourself again, what does A and B share? And A and B, if you look at this item A and B, which is again, they share an A, right? A is in both A, and they share an E, which is again, those are the two items that they share. So therefore, this is what I do is I take that two item and I put it in the center, which is A and B. And now they don't share anything else, which is now what is left over in A. Do you agree that CDJ is left over in A, which is I put in A. CDJ is not in B. And what is over in B after I took away the A and the E? Remember, once you use it, you do not reuse it. You use the A and the E already, you do not use the A and the E again. So whatever you use is gone. So in this case, everybody see, everybody have any question of how I got the A and the E in the center? And how do I have CDJ on outside of B but in A? And vice versa, BGI is in B but outside of A. And to finish it off, right? To finish it off, you ask yourself, what have you used? Well, we use the A, we use the B, we use the C, we use the D, we use the E. We don't have an F, we use the G, the H. No, we don't have the H, the I, and the J. Which is everybody see that whatever I use, I don't reuse it, which is looking at this thing here, the only two items left is the F and the H, which is the F and H is outside of the A circle and also outside of the B circle, okay? So given this thing here, this is my Venn diagram beside the yellow color, but this is my Venn diagram, which is this item outside of A and also outside B. This is outside of the B, but in A. This is in both A and in B, and this is in B, but not in A, right? So looking at this thing here, before I continue and use the Venn diagram to answer, use the Venn diagram to answer A, B, and C, question of how I have this Venn diagram here.
For the Venn diagram, the A with the apostrophe, that's the complement, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so anything that is in A or that is in the middle of A and B is what that complement is, correct or no?
No. The complement is anything outside of A.
Okay.
Not in A.
Okay.
Right? So let's take a look at A, right? Once you, and this is the purpose of the Venn diagram. If you got confused on last Thursday in terms of we do it by hand, right? Because last Thursday we just do it by hand. If you're confused if we do it by hand, the Venn diagram can help you out. But the problem with the Venn diagram, ladies and gentlemen, is you have to know how to read it. You have to know what region we're looking for, right? So let's take a look. Let's take a look at A. A, this is what they ask you is A complement union B, which is what is outside of A or inside B. And this is what I mentioned on Thursday. Well, let's take a look at this thing here. Let's take one look at one item at a time. So do you agree that this is outside of A, right? This is my Venn diagram. Do you agree that this is outside of A? Agree?
Yes.
And if this is outside of A, this is outside of A, now they tell you whatever outside of A, unite that with inside of B, which is, do you agree that the green spray paint is the item inside B? So one thing I want to point out to you guys, and this is how you want to remember is whenever the union, whatever this U is, as long as you paint it, as long as you touch it, is yours. The union is basically tell you is whatever you have, combine them together. So to answer this question, everybody see that anything in that region, anything that I touch my paint, which is the orange, which is the F and the H, the B, the G, the I, the A and the E, as long as my paint are touched, those are the items that is either outside of A or inside of B. Because of the word or is either one or the other. Okay, you would say, wait a minute, Mr. Tran, the A and the E is in A. I agree with you that the A and the E is inside the A circle, but it's also in the B circle, and they tell me that if it's in the B circle, I have to include it. Okay, and again, the answer right here is basically, I just put them in order, which is A, B, E, F, G, H, I. Okay, which is as long as your paint touch for the union, as long as your paint touch, you take it. Okay, and what is the difference between the union? If you look at A and you look at B, do you see the only thing different is this item? Do you see the only difference is, again, A prime intersection B? So one thing the different, and this is what I want you to see, that the main difference, you don't see that much. The main difference between the union versus the intersection is this. The union, as long as your paint touch, you accept them, you put them together. The intersection, in order for you to grab it, is have to be double shaded. It have to be the overlapping. Do you agree that this is the only region that I have the green spray paint and the orange paint? Which is, if I ask you what is outside of A and have to be, must be in B. Do you agree that B, G, I is the only three items that is outside of the A circle and also inside the B circle? Okay, and that's what you guys need to identify. You guys need to identify what is the operation here. Both of them look very identical. Both of them look very identical, but the union versus the intersection, that is tell you which one to use. And the two answers are different. Everybody see that the two answers are not the same. They are not equal. So one thing one thing to remember or put a note, if it's a union, whatever your paint touch, you include them. The union, you just combine your paint together. For the intersection, in order for you to use it, you need to have an overlap of the paint. Okay, the overlap region. So question with A versus B. Question of the answer in A, I include everything that my paint touch, and the answer in B, I only include BGI.
Yes, Mr. Tran, I'm totally lost.
You totally lost.
Yes.
Have
Because I'm
you
trying
looked?
to figure out, I'm looking at what you're saying as far as with the A and the E, B, G, and I. But again, I'm lost when you don't incorporate the B, G, and I. Why is that? Only because the U is upside down, or the universal set, whatever, however
No,
we.
this is not a universal set. Universal set is this item. This is the intersection.
Okay.
You talk about B or talk about A?
B.
So B, remember the intersection. This is where does the two region. This is the question is, give me the item that this region here and this region here have in common, right? What item is outside of A circle, but have to be inside the B circle?
Okay.
If you were to read that in English, okay? So if you were to read this in English, this thing here is the word and or the word but, right? So give me the item, give me the letter outside of my A circle, and that same letter that is outside of A circle have to be inside the B circle.
Got it.
You see, that's why we do not include the F and the H, because I agree the F and H is outside of the A circle, but it's not in the B circle. So, so that's why I mentioned that for the intersection, in order for you to include the letter, it have to be double pane. You see right here, this is only green. We're not gonna take it. Only orange, we're not gonna take it. The intersection have to be both green and orange. Is that making sense?
Yeah, it makes sense. Okay.
And similarly, any question here, A, B.
Are you gonna post the slides like so we can print them out?
Yes. Again, this is what you need to ask yourself. Whenever you see the question, this is what the first thing you want to ask yourself is, what kind of operation are they asking me? Is it, do they ask me to just combine them, which is the union, or do they ask me to find the overlapping? Okay, so A, that is where you combine them. The upside down U here, the intersection here, that is what you have to see the overlapping. Okay, that's what you need to know first. The notation is it a, do we just combine the thing together, or do we see where they intersect each other or overlap each other? So we know, do you agree that this item here for C, we're looking for something overlap each other? Okay, so let's take a look at one at a time. Let's go back to my original, this is my regular Venn diagram. Do you agree that my blue ink, this ink right here, is the item outside of A prime, right? This is what they asked me is, give me the item outside of A, which is, do you agree that this right here is not in A, and this right here is not in A? And now they tell you whatever that item is, give me those items between these two items. You know, if you were to read this, if you were to look at this, between this item F and H, and between this item BGI, those are the two items, as you can see on the screen, is outside of A circle. Which of these two items is also outside of the B circle? Do you agree that this item is also outside of the B circle, right? Again, what item is outside of A circle? F, H, B, G, I. But between the two items we have, which is outside of the B circle, this is the only thing that outside B circle, okay? So if you were to highlight, if you were to do what I did before, you can see that the purple ink is the item outside of B, right? The blue ink is the outside of A, the purple spray paint is outside of B, but because of the intersection, we're looking for the overlap. Which region have both the blue item and also the purple item? Well, this is the only region that have the blue and the purple, which is the answer we're looking for is just F and H. Okay, because it's the intersection, we're looking for the double paint. This thing only have blue, we're not taking it. This only have purple, we're not taking it. We only take the one that have blue and also purple. Is that making sense between the union versus the intersection?
Yes.
Now, question on this three. So now they want to, or they move a little bit more advanced, which is they just give you what you just learned. Now we have to apply that item to a real world situation, to a real problem or a word problem, right? So if you look at this thing here, they say a survey of 115 Math 203 students to determine which major they are in. The result shown in the table below, which is this is the result. So again, I just making up number, guys. I have a survey and this is what my result is. There are 65 students say that they are nursing major. There are 34 students say that they are accounting major, and they are 11 of them say that they are double major. They are both nursing student, nursing major, and also accounting major. Everybody see that right here. This is what we have is the both item. So given this thing here, they ask you, can you construct the Venn diagram to illustrate this result? And once you construct the Venn diagram, can you answer this question here in terms of B, C, and D, right? But before you can answer the question, we did this earlier in Thursday. I give you the Venn diagram. This one here, they ask you to construct the Venn diagram. So if you're looking at this information, do you agree that we have two sets? We have a nursing major and we have the accountant major. And there are some accountant major who also a nursing major, meaning they are double majors, right? So looking at this thing here, as always, when you construct the Venn diagram, as always, you want to construct what in the middle. How many students are double major? How many students are both a nursing major and accounting major? Well, 11. Everybody see where my 11 come from? Because they tell me that they're both double major. That's why the 11 is here. And now, do you agree? Do you agree that?
I don't understand anything going on, Mr. Dye.
Have you read 2.1 and 2.2?
First off, I just changed my major Friday. About time I got into class or whatever to realize that I didn't have to change class Math Contemporary with you. It was too late for me to order anything. Now, the book I do have is for my last semester is, I do have Math 098.
Again, on Alex, they do give you 14-day trial. I post the free code to use for 14-day trials for you to work on the material. And again, we went over this item.
It said I have a 10-digit. I put in my financial aid access code, and then after that, it was like I had to get some type of 10-digit code from my instructor.
You don't need the course code from me. You need to access Canvas and click on the module.
I use the financial aid access code. Now, after that, it's still, I was looking when I pressed books, the math book, it's like, I can't see the full book or something. I don't know. I really can't.
Well, one thing is first, I post my lecture online. You have to watch my lecture online to catch up.
I watch videos. I watch the videos on my Canvas for now on the assignments and announcements. I mean, I just don't get it. Like, I suck with math, Mr. Train. This has nothing to do with your class or your instructing at all. I hate math if it's not simple. Basic.
Well, let's take one step at a time, right? So first of all, let's take one step at a time. Do you understand this Venn diagram where we have two sets?
We have what?
We have two sets. We have two group of people. The green circle right here. The
Okay.
green circle, this are the group of people in nursing program.
And accounting for the purple.
The purple is accounting people. Okay. So do you see that the two circles overlap?
Yeah.
So wherever they overlap, this thing tells you that the people who in this region is taking a nursing major and also the accounting major.
Okay.
So how many people are there taking both a nursing and also the accountant?
Look like 50. Okay. Well, for accounting it's 34 and nursing 65.
No. How many taking both nursing and accountant?
11.
11. So this 11 people, 11 individual, all the people who have to be in this particular region, which is the 11 people in here, this is the 11 people who are in nursing and also accounting. Okay? So that's where the 11 come from, because they tell me, they show me that there are 11 people who are double major, which is a nursing and also accounting. So that is where the intersection of the region. Okay. Now let's take a look at the nursing major. Do you agree that the green, everyone, the green circle here, they tell me that whoever in this green circle, don't worry about the purple circle, whoever in this green circle, they are my nursing major. The total capacity of this green circle, the total capacity of this green circle is 65 people. Meaning, just think in terms of your calculator, or not your calculator, just think in terms of your elevator. In order for the elevator to move, they have a total capacity. So they tell me that the nursing major, the green circle here, the total capacity of this green circle is 65. So I cannot just put 65 here, because if I put 65 here, 65 plus 11, that is maximum, that is more than the people I have. Your elevator cannot move, right? So think about this thing here. My 11 is in my green circle. And like I mentioned earlier, whatever you use, you have to not use it again. You have to deduct them out. Meaning my green circle, I have the total of 65, but I already use 11 of them. I already count 11 of them in my green circle. So I have to take 65 minus 11, which is 65 minus 11. That will give me 54, which is, you see, 54 plus 11, that is equal to 65, which is the total capacity of my nursing major. Everybody see where my 54 and my 11 came from. My 11 is what they give me. 54 because I take 65 minus the 11, because I already account 11 of them. I need to deduct them out. And when I deduct them out, I need to subtract them, which is the 54 is here. Now, forget about the green. Let's take a look at the purple. For the purple, what is the maximum capacity of the accountant people? Well, the maximum capacity of an accountant, they tell me that is 34. But how many have I accounted for? Well, I already account for 11, which is, in this case, I need to take 34 minus the 11, right? 34 minus 11, which is 34 minus 11 to give me 23, which is, again, my 23 is there. As you can see, the 11 plus the 23, the 11 plus the 23 to give me 34. So that is where my 23 came from, because I take 34 minus what I already accounted for, which is 11. Therefore, I have 23. Question on where my number came from here. Question where my 11 where my 54 and where my 23. And most important, ladies and gentlemen, whatever you use, you have to deduct them out, meaning you have to subtract them out. You cannot just go in and put 65 here, 11 here, and 34 here, okay? If you do that, for this one it's work, but other problem is, well, it's not work, it won't work, okay? So again, we start in the center and we deduct our weight to give me this item. But we are not done. Why we are not done? Because what do they tell us? Well, they tell us that the total student in this survey is 115 of them. How many people have I already accounted for? Which is, do you agree that I need to take this 100? Do you agree that I need to take this 115 minus the 40? Minus the 54 because I used the 54 already, minus the 11 because I have 11 here, and minus the 23 because my 23 is here, right?
Yeah, minus 23.
And that left me with 27. What does this 27 mean? Well, this 27 people who answer the survey is not a nursing program or accounting program. They are somewhere, they either radiology or whatever left.
Sociology.
Right? Sociology, yes, right. So again, as long as they are not nursing or they are not accounting, they are outside of those two circles. Agree? So again, that's your goal. That's your idea. Is last time, the previous example, they give you the actual element. The previous example, they give you the actual letter. You just put it in the right location. Now they give you the total of each group. And because they give you the total of each group, you need to take that total and deduct them out. You have to ask yourself, what region do they share? Where do they overlap? You want to start with the overlap, or depend on your information. This one here, they give you the overlap. So you want to start with the overlap and deduct them out. So question with this Venn diagram.
Shut up. You about to get one.
So if you don't have a question with this Venn diagram, let's take a look at this Venn diagram and see. Let's take a look at this Venn diagram and see how to answer my question here. So we're done with A. They ask you how many nursing major but is not an accounting major. So do you agree that 54 is in a nursing program but is not in the accounting program? So this question is very similar to last Thursday question. It's just the only thing different. The only thing different now is, in order for you to answer, you have to construct your own Venn diagram. That's the only thing, because the answer in this question is, again, do you agree that there are 54 nursing major who is not the accounting major, right? That's the only 54 people we have, okay? How many students have exactly one major? Well, do you agree that this 54 have one major, right? This 54 have one major. I don't know how many major these people have. This thing here, we don't know. They can have double major that is not this two. They can have something else. We don't know about this 27. All we know about this 27 is they are not nursing major and they are not accounting major. But exactly one, do you agree that there are 54 have exactly one and 23 have exactly one? Which is, we need to add those two numbers together to give us 77. There are 77 students have exactly one major, okay? We don't know about, you guys can argue and say, wait a minute, this 27, they might have one major. Again, they might, we don't know, right? They can be radiology and also sociology, we don't know. General study and culinary, we don't know, right? So we cannot include this 27, okay? So again, everybody see why we have 77 here, 54 and 23. You add them together, you have 77. Those are the people who have only one major, which is, this is the nursing by themselves and this is the accounting by themselves. These people, they are both accounting and also nursing. Okay. And lastly, how many students are neither nursing, none accounting major? So do you agree that there are 27, which is again the 27 people on the outside? These are the 27 of them who are not, they are neither nursing, none accounting. So again, the 25 people that left over, or this is, 27 people that is on the outside of this two circle, okay? They are not nursing and they are not accounting, okay? So again, question, first of all, question with A, B, C, and D here. And hopefully many of you guys see that given the Venn diagram, you can use the Venn diagram to answer this question. Your goal is, have the Venn diagram, and now in 2.3 and 2.4, basically they tell you that if we don't have the Venn diagram, can you take the information that we give you? Can we take the information from the survey to put in and find that Venn diagram? And if you can find that Venn diagram, hopefully you can answer the question here. Let's take a look at the next thing we have, which is the